Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of the Crucible with Jeff Marshall. We have yet another good one for you today. I have my friend Jen Hayes Lee. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to have you here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to embarrass you by reading your entire bio. The reason I'm doing that is because, you know, this show is all about, you know, failures or crucible moments, that things we had to go through, whether personal or in work, and how we've come out on the other side of those and how they impacted us in life. And in order to get there, I have to kind of make sure that the audience that doesn't already know you, because I'm sure you already have your adoring fans, but the ones that don't know you, they need a chance to kind of get to see the level of success that you've been at. So get comfortable feeling uncomfortable for a minute while I talk at length about you.
Let's do it.
All right, so Jen Hayes Lee is a dynamic brand strategist and content creator celebrated for her commitment to culturally relevant and inclusive storytelling. As the head of marketing and content at The Bump, Jen leads editorial and marketing initiatives supporting parents and parents-to-be through the journey of parenthood. She launched the hashtag Real Talk series featuring celebrity parents such as Gabrielle Union Wade and Dwayne Wade, Ashley Graham, Adrienne Bailon Halton, I think I'm saying that right, Elaine Welter-Roth, Naomi Osaka, Chrissy Teigen, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and more. Jen is also the executive producer and on-air talent for the soon-to-be-released Dear Media podcast. Can't wait till that comes out. No Guide for This. That's the name of it. That is the name of the podcast. No Guide for This. The Bump's Future of Parenting series and creator and EP for The Bump's Amazon Live channel, showcasing her talent in driving tune-in and engaging audiences. Jen's career stands out for her impactful contributions across media and digital platforms. At Complex Media, she spearheaded the creation of branded content series for global powerhouses like EA Sports, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Samsung. Beyond that, she has driven strategic innovative initiatives for industry leaders including The Knot, Saks Fifth Avenue, ABC Television, and Hearst, showcasing her exceptional ability to blend creativity with business strategy. She holds a degree in marketing and communications. How do I say your school? From Guizetta?
Guizetta, yeah.
Guizetta, okay. Guizetta Business School at Emory University. My daughter loves Emory, by the way.
Awesome.
And an MBA from NYU Stern School of Business, where she was awarded the Consortium Academic Fellowship and was featured in CNBC's On the Money with Maria Bartiromo. Her upcoming children's book, The Golden Hoops, which we will be purchasing, is set to be released by HarperCollins in summer 2025. Deeply committed to community service, Jen serves on the board of directors for Son of a Saint, an organization transforming the lives of fatherless boys through mentorship and life skills development. She founded the Golden Hoop Project to raise awareness for issues that adversely affect young people of color. At home, Jen proudly embraces her role as the self-proclaimed Black Boy Joy curator, raising 3 sons in South Orange, New Jersey with her husband, Clyde. Jen's achievements have earned her recognition in Authority Magazine, Amazon Live, Essence Magazine, The Bump, Worth, Emory University 40 Under 40, and Brand Innovators 40 Under 40. That is a bio if I've ever had to read a bio, my friend.
Well, thank you. I think we should just stop now.
We should. That's it. That's the episode.
Who needs to talk about failure?
All right. No, I mean, look, congratulations on all of your success. You know better than most that none of that success, right, happens without like trials and tribulations that we go through, these crucible moments, which I define as severe tests that are necessary in order for us to change. Yeah. And so without further ado, I think let's get into it. Let's talk about a crucible moment for you that has had a really deep impact on you.
Well, I have to say it was really a moment of reflection. I had to think about what those failures were, because I think for most of us, at least for me, I think we take them as lessons and we try to pivot them, 100%. Which I think is the goal. And I landed on a moment of transition that ended in a failure. I imagine young Jen moved from New Orleans to New York City, living the life in my 20s. It was everything you can imagine, interesting people, interesting places. always something to do. I was pursuing media. I was working in magazine publishing. It was a good life.
Yeah.
And so good, it could have been documented for TV, and almost was. But, and just living my life, just in learning and growing, and then enter a new boyfriend who happened to be very concerned about the vanity metrics.
Okay.
And so he nudged me along into what ended up being me in a full-time MBA program, because he was all about the credentials. And I have to say, it's one of those things where, they say people are here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yep.
That was the reason. It was, oh, why don't you take a GMAT course? Like, what could it hurt? Oh, well, you took the GMAT course. Why not go visit a couple schools? And so I went through all those steps, and before I knew it, the score was solid enough, and I ended up getting accepted to NYU, as you mentioned, and I got a full ride, so I kind of didn't have, an option not to go.
Yeah, that's dope.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so while in school, I never fancied myself as someone who would get an MBA, and I was surrounded by, people that were pursuing finance and investment banking and consulting, and none of those things really resonated for me. I wasn't even into sort of P&G, or the sort of CPG companies of the time. And so I found myself being really interested in entrepreneurship and luxury retail.
Okay.
And so through that journey, I took all the entrepreneurship classes and branding classes I could. I mean, Scott Galloway was literally my professor. And I ended up meeting this amazing friend who I did a group project with, and we concepted a business called Workshop. Okay. We set out the mission with Workshop that we were going to revolutionize workwear for millennial women. Okay. It was like, we're that's it. We're going to do it. It was at the time when there was sort of the rise of all those direct-to-consumer, those DTC companies, the Dollar Shave Club, and Warby Parker, Everlane, and we're like, we got next.
Yeah.
We're going to banish the boring black suit, and we're going to do it. So before we even graduated, my co-founder and I, her name is Kristen, launched this company in our spring semester of our last year at NYU. And, we did it all from, establishing the LLC to, going to trade shows, going to showrooms, building relationships, and really just lived the entrepreneur's life. Yeah. And enjoyed it immensely. And because we were in a school environment, we were learning, we had access to resources like free office space through the Entrepreneurship Center at NYU, access to mentors and VCs. And, we ran the business for about a year and a half, and we kind of were like, okay, let's embrace Silicon Alley, which was the New York's answer to Silicon Valley at the time. And, we would go to pitch events, we go try to get into these incubators, and then just crickets. Yeah. When I look back, and I looked back in preparation for this conversation, our Instagram page is still live. Okay. I looked at it today, and I was like, oh, this is popping. But what ended up happening is we got to a place where we just couldn't get the funding or get accepted into that transformative incubator that we, thought would take us in our meteoric rise. Yeah. But Jeff, what also happened during that same time, I got married right after business school. And I found myself pregnant with my first child. And so that major life event made me pause and really think about where I needed to go from there. Yeah. Because at that point, a paycheck was looking really nice.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Versus what was happening, which was the opposite. Me kind of taking the savings that I happened to have amassed from my MBA internship, because I was full time. I wasn't even working. I was a full-time MBA student. Okay. So there wasn't a lot there, but I tapped into what I had earned over the summer and put it all into the business. And so Kristen and I got to a point about 18 months in, and we said, okay, we've got three options here. We either pivot our business concept is something that we know the investors and VCs are telling us they want, something that's sort of platform-based, software-based. Okay. And we started to explore that a little bit, and while trying to revolutionize workwear. So that was one option, change the business altogether. Another option was to take it into a different direction where we actually manufactured and designed our own clothing, which seemed like a really big mountain to climb as a young person who was about to have a baby. And then the third was to wind it down and say, this was a pilot, take our learnings, and then apply it to the next thing. So we ended up winding it down. And from there, we had to just figure out how we would exit gracefully and move on to the next thing.
Oh, man. So that's, first of all, kudos to even getting it that far while just
you.
being a student. I think it's really smart to say we have all this access to all these resources. Let's try to utilize them. But the winding down of something that you pour that much into has to kind of sting a little bit, right? So tell me a little bit about the feelings you were encountering, not even after you wound it down, but as you were like coming to terms with the fact that you had that was the only option at that moment.
Yeah. Jeff, there were a lot of feelings, chiefly because Kristen and I were a part of this small handful of students that were going to boldly, bravely take on the startup world and hopefully be the next success.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there were articles, written about us in the newspaper for school. We were featured on a fashion website. We had gotten picked up in Refinery 29. I was on, as you mentioned, CNBC, talking about these things, these amazing big things that I was going to do. So I struggled with my ego a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't lie. And there was also the sort of notion that I had to be first accept the fact that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That 100%.
And so that was sort of what helped me kind of get through it. But the other sort of opportunity cost of doing what I did and sort of taking that big shot was, I had job offers. I could have, people go to business school so they can pivot and sort of elevate and sort of get that post MBA, good pay. And I was turning down opportunities to bet on myself. So I had to also kind of take that and just say, hey, I shot my shot and it doesn't always work out.
No, it doesn't. But I love you're exactly right. Like you're gonna miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I talk about, I use sports analogies a lot. I tell people about these hits and misses, and I say, look, if you played baseball and you hit only 40% of the pitches that are thrown your way, like you would be the greatest hitter of all times.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Right? Yeah. So if you bat 400, which is 40%, you would be considered the greatest hitter of all time. Okay. So consider that ratio, and then I will couple that with the fact that probably better than any, and I'm sure some of our viewers know that it is nearly impossible for Black women to get VC funding, no matter how good the idea is, right? So that's another hurdle that you are willing to climb. Yeah. And then to have to back off of it must have, like I said, it must have invoked some feelings. But that entrepreneurial spirit is still in there.
It's still there.
Right? I reading that bio, I see it's still there.
Yeah.
And so what are the lessons that you took from having to halt the thing that you poured the passion in, that you kind of carry forward with you into some of the other things you're doing?
So, from a practical level, I was, between Kristen and myself, we were running an e-com business and from nuts to bolts, ground up. Everything from the product sourcing, again, to model casting, to building out the site, building out social media branding, doing outreach for press. We were doing it all.
Yeah.
And so from a practical level, the next role that I was very grateful to get after we wound everything down, I went on to Saks Fifth Avenue to be the director of digital strategy. Wow. And so it was not a bad way to land.
Yeah.
And so fortunately for me, the narrative and the story that I was able to share and then actually applying what I learned really translated well into what I had to do at Saks. So that was awesome.
I love it.
And I think the other thing that I took with me and I take with me today, literally today forward and every day, is that I am still entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. And so I approach everything in my corporate job at the Bump from that lens.
Yeah.
Like if there's an opportunity that I think could be explored and can go through discovery and potentially seized, I'm going to do it. I don't see confined sort of spaces or defined lines that says like what you can or can't do in order to build a brand. And so I apply that to the Bump every single day.
Yeah,
That's how the podcast was born. That's how the partnership with Amazon Live was born. So whether it's my personal business or something for my work, it's who I am at my core.
I love that. And I think that's the, you've picked up on the thing, honestly, that we want audience members to pick up on. It's, I've been successful, but I've had these moments where I stumbled but I found the learning in it, right? No losses, just lessons. If you wanted folks who are watching this to take one, maybe two things away from your Crucible moment,
Yeah.
what would you say to them?
I would say really pay attention to who you are at your core. And I'm someone who likes to build things. And again, like I said, I'm building things at the bump every day. I've recently launched my own brand called Bestow. It's a line of modern luxuries like these hoops that are meant to be shared or gifted, or you can treat yourself, because I just love the process of taking an idea or a concept and figuring out how to find the audience and create something special. So if that is who you are at your core, then do it and find ways to do it in a way where you can be smart and strategic about the resources at your disposal, or create the resources if they're not already there. But don't ignore the things that are going to make you truly happy and make you feel passion and vigor for your life.
I love that. Do you think that I don't want to call that venture a failure, right? I know sometimes it's how we think of it in the moment, and once we come out the other side, we've reframed our mindset. But do you think, in finding do you think that played a very crucial role in you finding who you are at your core?
I think so, because that tug to say, let me take the opportunity of meeting someone that I felt compatible with and take the opportunity of going to business school. I mean, it was not in the design or the plan that I had for myself when I came to New York and was living the good life. For me to say like, hey, I want to be a student again. But I was there, and it made me really kind of assess the landscape and assess what that moment could mean for me. And so when I found that tug and that nag that said, hey, maybe you can do something that is, that people aren't expecting of you, and maybe that you weren't even expecting of yourself. So
you know what, that's it right there. Like you can absolutely do things that people weren't expecting of you, and definitely something's going to come along that you aren't expecting of yourself. And honestly, that might be presented by the Crucible moment, and what you do from that point on is really what makes you you. So Jen, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
This was fun.
I appreciate you. I will, like I said, I will wish you the greatest of success in everything moving forward.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to kind of what's next. We'll be sure we're sending all audience members a copy of the book. I'm kidding.
You get a book?
All y'all get a book.
Y'all get, okay, amazing.
Everyone in this room.
That's 7 books sold.
Everyone in this room.
My first 7.
But thanks again. For those of you watching, that was a wonderful Crucible moment with my good friend, Jen Hayes Lee. I want you, if you take anything from this conversation, recognize that who you are at the core. You might think you're one person, and then a moment will come along and tell you you're actually more than that. And so take that with you, carry it into the next Crucible moment you approach, and keep moving forward. Thanks again. This is Jeff Marshall, and this is The Crucible.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Crucible with Jeff Marshall. If you would like to be a guest on the program, let's be in touch. And be sure to stay connected with us through your favorite platforms. The Crucible with Jeff Marshall is part of the A Live Podcast Network and can be found in audio-only format wherever you listen to your podcasts. Production of this project was created by Gifted Entertainment, a full-service creative video production company.